Okay, there we go. It's James speaking, trainingsites.io. Want to make sure everything's good here. We got some sound. Maybe I'll move the microphone a little bit closer. If you haven't been to these sessions, these are live Q&A sessions. I do them every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Hopefully we'll have some fun today and go over some of the great stuff that's happening in AI and how it affects anyone who's creating online courses or teaching online. So just to let everyone know, this is live. It's Q&A. If you have questions, please make sure to put them in the chat or in the description, hopefully the chat, so I'll be able to see them as quickly as possible and get them answered. So who do we have coming on? Who's got some questions? Who's here? Where are you from? What are you working on? Would love to take a look at any of that kind of cool stuff there. There we go. Who's on? Hey, Patrick, welcome again from Oxford, UK. Thanks for coming on. Actually, I think we're 5 hours, so just after supper there for you. I've had a number of people on from Hong Kong and places where it's like 12 hours, 16 hours different. So that's why I always ask, trying to figure out where everyone is from, sorry, and some of the time zone differences. So again, welcome, Patrick. Hey, let me know who's on. Who else is coming on? What do we got for questions? Would love to chat about them. And again, I will tell you that these are live. So if there are any issues, please just let me know in the chat. If something doesn't sound loud enough or a screen is missing, something like that, I'll do my best to get stuff cleaned up as quickly as possible. So what do you got, Patrick? What do you got for questions? I think you're the one. There's only one or two people on so far. We'll see hopefully who else comes on. But let me know. What are you working on? What do you want to talk about? What did you see this week or yesterday or the day before about all the cool stuff that's happening in AI? We can talk about that, or just let me know what you're working on, and we'll see where we can go from that. It's interesting to me, just because things have happened really quickly over the last week. Not that they don't happen quickly normally, but there's been a lot of things that happen over the last week that I think specifically impact course creators and teachers in this space with all of the cool AI stuff that's coming. And the interesting part, again, for me looking at this and being kind of immersed in it, is that the things that are coming out now are not necessarily about content and creating content. They're more about changing the structure and the way that anyone who's teaching something actually interacts with real people, or don't or or doesn't interact with real people. So that part's kind of cool, and it's something that I think we're all going to have to deal with. And again, from two camps. If you're selling courses and or you're a formal teaching environment, those things are all kind of coming up. So it's going to be kind of neat to see what happens there. Working on a community to support readers of a book I will publish in the autumn on people engagement and change initiatives there. So, and seeing more cases of AI using the new apps, I'm a little behind in imagining how it might work for me. So yeah, that's kind of an interesting question actually, and one of the ones that I've kind of been dealing with personally as well. Not dealing with, but at least kind of trying to get myself up to speed on the use of AI in these particular cases, and especially when it has to do with dealing with people. And this is one of the things that I've kind of come up with. And again, this is working with uh, other people in formal teaching institutions, and then also people who have been creating courses or content and then are trying to figure out, how do I actually sell this information or monetize this information and have it as something that, as an asset that I can actually use and build a business upon. And there's a couple things that I think, and again, I don't have all the answers to this. Again, what I'm doing is applying the stuff that I'm researching and trying, and kind of letting you know where that's coming from, and then together we can kind of learn a little bit as we get going. So here's a thing that I think is exciting about the space in community slash campuses. I think there's going to be a return to use case teaching, for lack of a better word. So I think the whole job of someone, whether you wrote a book or you created a course or you're responsible for a curriculum or some kind of outcome that you're providing, is that because content can be generated by anyone, I think it's going to be a lot of use case teaching where you're able to share your experiences because you've already done it and be able to be involved with people as they figure out how they're going to actually apply what the content is that they were able to generate. And I got a whole bunch of a lot of the research I've been doing and the ways that I've been trying to approach this is kind of like the chef in the kitchen, right? Got a whole bunch of ingredients, and you may even have some recipes, which I'm calling frameworks or things like that. And they give some detail of how much of what ingredient needs to get added, when it needs to get added. But there's things or nuances that maybe the recipe and the ingredients don't account for. And that I think is where the real opportunity is for you as the expert, but also being able to share other people's application of recipes and how they do it and what they get out of it. In particular, use cases, I think, are just an easy way to do that. So, in formal situations, I think we're going to see a kind of not a, I don't know if it's a return, but it's more about actually doing a use case and doing it live with people or a group of people, and having that as a regular basis to get people engaged in the community and also the learning of the actual stuff. So I think that's going to be kind of neat, working through that space. Now, Paul, if you have a book, or Patrick, pardon me, if you have a book, um, what are you going to do in terms of the content? That content is your story. I'm assuming, like, how are you going to get people into a community? How are you going to monetize it? Those are all things I think, you're going to have to play around with and kind of figure out how that's going to work. And is it more than a book? Is there other revenue streams there? Are there other things that you're thinking about? Um, and using and actually that's something we can talk about too, is I did mention that there was the study mode from OpenAI yesterday or the day before. There's another one with Anthropic or Claude that's called Study With Me, I think it is. And then I did a video maybe 2 or 3 months ago where you can actually ask ChatGPT to apply those Socratic teaching approach. So it basically asks you questions as opposed to answering. You can give some prompts that do that as well. So yeah, I think that kind of space. And what was really cool about the study mode was it never answered any of the questions that you asked. From all of the prompts that I gave it, it was always something that either shared something as a response to you, but it was always followed up by a question or a next step, which is kind of cool. So, I think that transition between response to questioning stuff is going to be interesting. And if that's applied to an avatar, which is something else that we've covered, where, I think I did Google Portraits. Grok came out with a couple, they call them companions, but you've now got a Socratic style interaction verbally with a digital tutor or companion. And again, this stuff is all happening very, very quickly. So QR codes. Okay, so that's a good question, Patrick. I was thinking of QR codes referring the reader to my community. Okay, and where are those QR codes going to go? Are you going to be paying for ads? Are you posting to social media? Are you going to be doing something on YouTube? Do you have a traditional funnel or existing email list, or is there a group of people that you already have access to? Where are you going to be able to get these kind of people to get them into your community? A QR code, where is it going to go? Where's that QR code that people are going to see? And why would they actually go in and want to get into the community? So these are all things that you kind of have to go over and think about when you're playing off or playing around with this whole community piece. I think if you haven't, I'm hoping that you've actually taken the time to see this, but please make sure to go through the 10-step campus map here if you haven't already. This one, these are the steps that I've seen over the last, probably the last 15, since I started, and been going out over 20 years kind of thing. But I think the big ones just really started to come into play in terms of the steps that end up happening, like 2014, 2015. But I was doing it earlier when I had a site called My Small Biz University. But these 10 steps and getting into, making sure that you've got the campus goals set out and you've got a profitable kind of proven group of products, not a product, but a bundle of service informations and experiences that you're able to monetize. I think those are some of the things you got to think about before you actually go out and say, I'm going to go and promote it. So if you haven't already, please take the time to go through this and ask some questions and just say, hey, I'm thinking of this. What do you think? Or do you have an AI prompt that you can use to help me decide that? And that's the other thing I think is going to be kind of cool. You're thinking about how do I get people to do a QR code? One of the things that I'm seeing happening is that traditional kind of lead generation style is people are creating applications, custom GPTs, they're creating AI prompts, AI tools to basically get people into their community or into their ecosystem of an audience, a captive audience of people. So that's the other thing to think about. A QR code, what does the QR code do? Does it go to the community or does it go to a custom tool that they can use, that if they're using that tool, it's something that's of interest to them and they're willing to join by paying their email address to get into their community to actually have access to that particular AI tool. So again, lots of things to think about there. It's going to be an exciting time, putting all of these things here. The QR codes would initially, so there's another one. So the codes would be initially be in the printed book. So if you're thinking about that, how would that work? So you got a physical book that you're giving people. Is it a digital book? Is it a hard copy or a soft copy? Or are you printing it? Giving it away, like how are they going to do the book, or is it if they buy the book they get into the community? um, all sorts of wild questions and a million different ways to do it. So I hope you keep on asking these questions. We can keep on going over them, see what works, see what doesn't work. Again, my personal thing on this is what I'm seeing with the clients that we deal with, and myself, that the whole movement towards the AI tool or giving AI to people is the way to actually get them involved or engaged. And in fact, I'll tell you a true story. One of the things that's happened is I've been doing not a lot of work, I've been doing quite a bit of work with people in the higher education space, and they're running into trouble because their initial thing that they're teaching is about content and organizing content. And then everyone has AI, or, the majority of people have access to AI. So if you're teaching organized content, or you have content that you think is special, that is in general available to everyone, how is that going to actually work in terms of a business model? And when I'm doing anything now, I'm considering the fact that it's like, hey, everyone has AI. Everyone can create the content that I'm actually putting up in my community, in my courses, in my content. So how are you going to be able to differentiate yourself and do that? So Patrick's saying I don't want to hog this. There's no other questions right now. So if you have some, put them in the put them in the chat. I'd love to talk about them. And I'm talking about anything that has to do with starting, building, or growing an education business. So it doesn't matter if you're selling courses and you're on the for-profit marketing side, or if you're on the traditional teaching side. I'm trying to do my best to say, hey, here's some really cool AI stuff that's coming out. How does it apply to both of those people? And I think, this whole education space is the one that is going to be completely disrupted, not only for the people who are actually uh, presenting or doing the teaching, but also the way that things are actually taught and delivered. I put the title on this one about, do you really need a classroom? Uh, I've been doing a whole bunch of stuff. And again, this is because I've been asked, by people who are in the, traditional educational space. They're getting worried. They're saying, what I had, I had one person who was the head of a faculty at a university say, why would someone pay for a 4-year education now? Like, what is the purpose of paying for a university degree right now? And these are disruptive times. And if someone is going to be in a university, do they actually need to be in the classroom? What's the purpose of them being in a physical classroom anymore, or visiting that online physical campus? What's going to make it different to get people into a particular learning experience as opposed to a physical location to have a content dump put on them? So again, this is really cool stuff. We're going to see what actually happens with that, and even earning money with that. If you're thinking about selling a course for $47 or $97 or something along those lines, um, there's some huge issues there. I think when I first started, the whole idea was if you could get as many courses as you could, each time you got another course, it was another chance to earn some money. I have some authors that have done 50, 60, 100 courses. Some of them are smaller, some of them are bigger. I don't think it really matters the size. The fact is they've got a particular topic, some expertise, and they're creating a content course on it. But are they worth anything anymore? I don't know. I don't know. So give me some questions. Patrick had some questions there. Who else has got something I can talk about? Ask away. I'm here to help. Platforms. That's the other one. Personal platforms, not a campus, personal platform. Let me just pull up. I pull up. I think I did a map here. I'll actually pull up the map. This is the other map that I'm working on right now. I'll open this one up for you and we can see it. And again, if you're not familiar with these, what I do is I put together these maps. And in my case here, we'll just change the format so we can see it. I'm going to do a tree, not a brace map, but we'll do a tree chart here. And I use these tree charts just for one simple reason. I hate making slide decks, and these are good talking points that help me along through it. So I'll just open this one up a little bit so we can actually see it. Make it a little bit bigger. How's that? And we'll go from there. So I always put these mind maps together. And if you haven't done this before, this is xmind.net. It's a free piece of software and basically allows you to create really cool mind maps. And for this process for me, what I do is I go and I open this one up so you can see it. This is some of the research I was doing in Claude. And one of the things that I do is I always ask from here, this one I was talking about creating a framework for it, which I've talked about in a number of particular cases. But what I want to do is I said, hey, I got this information here. And then I just said, where is it? Just so you can see it. Yeah, here it is. Right? Create a mind map for this topic, and it exports a mind map. And what I come up with is the mind map based on the discussion that I had. In my case, it was Claude that I was using. So this is, kind of the way that I do my research. And if you are creating content or you are creating any kind of learning experiences, this is just, I think, a really good way to play around and come up with something that makes sense to be able to do it. So, yeah, so mind map stuff, what's really going on? Are the classrooms going away? This is the stuff I'm thinking about. This is the stuff that I'm working with people on. This is the stuff that I'm doing myself. And, the role as a teacher, what's changing? What's the platform that people are going to be in? I think it's community, and I think it's branded private communities, not large institutional communities, but it's people who have been overwhelmed with all of this stuff and just need some help from person that they resonate with, that they can see how they help and go there. So, you know, there's areas that humans do better. There's places that give better experiences, and we're all going to have to kind of to fit into those particular ones. Come on, what do we got for questions here? No questions, surprising today. We get 8, 10, 12 people on. It's open questions, and lots of people don't actually, they sit and lurk, which is cool too. What else we got here? I'm just going to do that. Don't want to. No other questions? None whatsoever. Do you want to look over some cool tools? Hey, Mary, welcome on. I shifted my content to include ChatGPT study guides. I'm no longer working on creating courses and programs. How should I move forward other than getting exposure on YouTube? Okay. If you do want to share your YouTube channel, that's cool. The way that I've been doing it successfully, and let me see if I can get my video pencil opening here. See if we can get this video pencil. And again, I use a cool product, and I'll open one up here, and it's called, in my case, it's on I've got it on my iPad. Just looking at my iPad here, and I just want to make sure that I have it. It's called Video Pencil, and I'll kind of hopefully we'll show this one, be able to see it. So this one basically is Video Pencil, and it's really cool because I just write on the Video Pencil, and in fact, it actually shows up here. So that's what I'm working on. We'll use that one right now, and let's see if I can kind of go over something that makes sense here. So this is the way that I'm focusing on it. So thank you, Mary. There's some. So Mary, here's the one that I'm kind of working on for the business model. And I think I don't know if you've seen some of the videos on this, but this is what's working for me. I don't. I was brought up as a traditional digital marketer, and focusing on that whole sales funnel thing, right? So it's like you get cold traffic in the top, and you try and get them, through a series of decisions to get them to actually purchase your main offer. And that when we first started, it was all about organic traffic, right? You focused on, hey, I got to get people from search and get them in. Or maybe you did things like joint ventures, and the whole goal was, either to build an email list so that you could continue to market to them, or you had some kind of free info product that you gave away in exchange for an email address. And then you were doing things like selling a low ticket offer, or doing live webinars where you were doing, 20 minutes of content and 40 minutes of pitching what it is that you wanted. But that whole, traditional digital marketing, when it was all about getting people into that particular funnel and, hoping at the end that you were kind of get the big ticket sales, whatever those happen to be. And there was a path down through that. And I think the problem is that top half of the funnel here has always been about content. So whether it's search and creating a whole bunch of SEO friendly content, whether it's creating infographics to give away, that focus has been on creating content. And the problem, of course, now is that there's no value in that because people can create it themselves for free. And then on the other hand, if you're not going to do it, an organic way where you're not paying for it, you're at that funnel, and then, you're paying for ads. You're paying for sponsorships. You're paying money to get people into your particular sales funnel. And that's the way that, that I was brought up. And you got to spend a whole bunch of money now to get a little bit of money out of the back, and hope that it balances out, and hope that you're making a profit. So, that's kind of the way I've been brought up. And there's still people teaching this particular method, but I don't think necessarily they're in the education space. So the way that I look at it now is I do it the opposite way. And what I look at here is I look at YouTube as the base of this. So YouTube is the only content that I focus on creating. And the purpose of YouTube content, there's a couple of them. I want people to go up in my community so that they actually become active participants in the community, where we can actually work on whatever that topic is, or that big picture. And I use the word topic. I try not to use the word niche. I try to use the word topic because there's all sorts of different kind of niches or applications of the niche in the topic. And I think there's a whole community of people that are interested in the topic, and they can find their space specifically in, in an area in your topic that they can actually learn from. And the cool thing is if you can get this going and you have a broad enough topic about or category of a topic that you find that people actually are interested in, there's an education business there. And that's kind of the big thing about, the YouTube part there. And I think, if I can move this over a little bit, the purpose of YouTube for me, there's a couple reasons there. The first one, and this is the important one, um, the first one is the value of the content. If you create enough, and this is, people talk about creating consistently. This is the big change that I've seen. Creating consistently now is creating 3 to 5 videos a week. It's not one a month or one every 2 weeks. I think you have to create as many videos as you can as quickly as possible. And the big reason that I do it is because I want to find out the value of the content that I'm excited about. And not only the value of it, by people raising their hand and asking questions or commenting or coming to live streams or arguing with you about what you're saying is either true or false. But the fact is that if you can find something on YouTube that people are willing to raise their hand about, excuse me, that is where you can get them involved in a community. If you do a whole bunch of videos like I did at the start that didn't really apply to people like I thought they should, you have to kind of figure out where do you fit in this big picture or in this topic. Or if I think the topic is about this and I'm talking about it, but maybe I get a little bit of uptake from a different approach to it or a different side of it. It's not pivoting, it's transitioning to where the people who you want to be in your community actually are. So that's kind of the first thing is you can verify the market that you are going to build your business in as opposed to assuming that you are your market. That's the very, very first thing. Second thing, the second thing is that when you do a whole bunch of YouTube videos, you learn how to message what it is that's your story and how to package it in a way that people understand and they can relate to. And again, this is something that you end up learning because you've done a lot of videos and you've made a whole bunch of mistakes and doing that. If you make one video a month or one video a week, you make 24 videos in a year, so what? You spend a whole bunch of time, energy, and effort figuring out how to do production stuff. You spend extra money and you do some YouTube videos, so what? Do you know, is there value there? Do you know that it's a particular market that is interested in you? Do you have a really good way that people understand what it is that you're talking about or are even interested in it? I don't think you can tell in 24 videos over a year. And the stats that I've seen, just an example, is right now you're looking at in the AI space where I'm focusing on now. Um, the stats that I've seen from the people that are the leaders in the industry, you're looking at a 3 to 4 month yearly rate of 100% increase in the capabilities of the AI tools. So every 3 to 4 months, what we see now with GPT-4, for example, the Opus 4.1 that came out from Claude yesterday, the Google Genie 3 that came out or was announced yesterday, those things and the computational power is going to double in the next 3 to 4 months. So if you're thinking about, yeah, I'm going to create some YouTube videos or I'm going to pay for some ads, or I'm going to write 1,000 blog posts with AI and hope that I get some organic traffic, there's some real issues there. So that's kind of the first thing is you get the message, you get the value, and here's the other part. You get the content repurposing. So you're able to repurpose all of the content that you're actually creating and use it in your community to have at least a conversation about it and have something that if you are working on SEO, you have content that can be automatically created to content that just happens to be there. You don't have to focus on it, you don't have to do it, but it's a YouTube video that you've created that you have the transcripts for. And I think the transcripts are the huge value that is hidden about this. I did a couple videos on this because I think it's going to be really important. There's two reasons on that. When I talk about content repurposing, you can put a video in the transcript and create some text from it. But here's the really cool part with the transcriptions. And if you're not familiar with these, I'm going to mention a couple terms, um, but I'm going to show you why they're really. Let me just, what would be the best way of doing this? Yeah, how can I do this in a cool way? I don't know if I have one of the videos here. So I'll try and explain it in a simple way. If you have this is the way these large language models work. It's not a database of the transcript. So all of this text content that we have from transcripts, or things that would blog posts that we write, or audio transcripts, this stuff is not the content that a large language model uses. There's something called a vector database, which is like a really technical thing. I don't know how they work, but I understand the way that, I understand enough to know what the implication is for us. Is a vector database, you might hear people talk about tokens, the number of tokens we get to use in a chat. So have you ever been using a chat sometimes and it just dies? It says, sorry, we've reached the number of tokens, you have to start a new chat. What a token is basically it's a chunk. And again, my understanding, if someone's watching this after, pardon my ignorance, it's a chunk of 4 to 6 words. And what happens in a vector database is they store these chunks of 4 to 6 words. And when you make a request, it has an index of all of these chunks, and it basically says this one's related to this one that's related to this one. So they use vector databases to basically chunk everything. And anytime that you have a transcript, what it does is it's adding it to a vector database, which now is available to be asked upon or used when there's a question. And I'll give you a simple example on how that works. And again, I'll open this one up. This is a tool that I use on my site. And let me just go, I'm going to go to we'll go to the back end here so we can actually go and see that one. So we'll bring this up in a second here. Let me just go to, I'm just going to go to a setting. I have an app here. I'll show it to you. I use WordPress, right? I use a WordPress content management system, and I use a community from Fluent. It's WP Managed Ninja. It's a whole series, Fluent Community, Fluent CM. There's a whole stack of things. But what happens is that this is an AI engine. It's a plugin that's for WordPress, and this is just an implementation of it. But what I have is the way that this works is, if you look on the screen here, I'll try and make it a little bit bigger. What this is these are all of the WordPress videos that I have done, but the transcripts are indexed in a vector database. So every time I do a YouTube video, I have a little app that I created doing that vibe coding thing, and basically what it does is it takes the transcript and it creates a blog post, for lack of a better word, in my WordPress site. And when it's there, AI Engine, because I have it set up, it goes and syncs on the right-hand side. Hopefully you'll be able to see this here. What it does is it syncs up all of my blog posts and puts it into this big vector database. So anytime I'm here and I'm working on the site, and if you come to the site and you go to let me get my keyboard live here. So if you go to trainingsites.io and you're on the site, I have now a little agent in the bottom, and that agent checks the vector database before it answers. So it doesn't answer based on the large language model training. In this case, it's ChatGPT. It goes to the index first. The Pinecone is the one that I'm using. It's a free one, but it's an index, a vector database. And then it bases all of the answers on my database. So this is part of YouTube, is having all of these transcripts and all of this data. And again, you can do it with data other than YouTube, but I think YouTube's the fastest way to create real life authentic data that you're getting from these live videos as an example, and put it in so that any of the agents or any time that someone is interacting with my content, it's actually coming from an authentic place that I know people like now because I've been talking about it in YouTube. So that content repurposing isn't about necessarily just going, hey, here's a brand new blog post that I took from a transcript. It's making your own personal data set that is available to everyone. So hopefully that kind of makes sense for a second. There's some other good stuff here that kind of goes on, and I'll touch on it if you're okay with that. And that's exactly what it is. Kelly was saying, instead of thinking to license other to use my materials, I can use AI to send people to the proper materials for the practices and uses. And here's something really cool that I'm betting this year is going to happen. I did a video, and again, all of these videos are in the trainingsites.io campus. Here's my sales pitch. If you're watching this and you want to find out more about starting, building, and growing education, go and join for free. The community's there. Listen to this, Mary. All it costs you is your email address, okay? Lead generation. And what happens is once you're there, you have access to all of my content, but you have to pay for access to me and some of the frameworks that I have. So that was my kind of pitch there for a second. Here's I'll do this one thing because it's first. Anytime I do, you were asking about a YouTube video, and I just want to go back to that. So you were asking about a YouTube video. Anytime I have a YouTube video, if you go look at the top of the YouTube video, the very first thing that you will see on every video that I do is, I'll just open this one up here. I'll go to my channel. Every single video, the very first thing that you see, hopefully the sound doesn't come up. If you aren't familiar, and the very first thing you'll see is trainingsites.io/join. So every YouTube video that I do, the only purpose of the YouTube video is to get people to join the community. So I don't pay for ads. I don't do blog posts. I don't do social media on purpose. I have it automated by repurposing the content. But the only goal of the YouTube videos is to share the information to get people into the community. So that's where the lead generation is on YouTube. So that's kind of the first part on that. So the other question that came up right there, which was kind of interesting, Kelly, thanks you for coming on, by the way. This is where I think this is the kind of cool part that I think is going to happen this year. And again, I did a couple videos on this, and I'll bring them up so that you can see them. One of them is a little bit weird, but the intent is there. The other one is cool. So if you go to labs, I'll open this one up so we can see it. If you go to labs.google experiments, this is free to go check it out. This is the stuff that Google's working on. They have this one right here called portraits. And if you go and open that one up after, and this is a great example of an author. What they did is they have a portrait of this author, her name, Radical Candor Kim Scott. They have a virtual avatar of Kim Scott that is trained specifically on the content of her book. Now, when it's trained on the content of her book, what that means is that her book has been indexed in a vector database, and the instructions in the portrait are to answer any questions that someone has about the book based on her data book or her database, her indexed or her knowledge base. So now we have more than texting in. We've got a virtual real person that we can talk to and ask questions to, but is going to reply based on their knowledge base. So this is one called Portraits. They have a couple in demo that are there. The other thing that came out last week, I think, was Grok 4 came out. I don't know if you heard about it. Now they introduced something called Companions, which I think is a little more adult focused, not necessarily business focused. But they have companions, which are digital avatars that you interact with live. They're calling them companions. So we've got these two things that have come out in July and the beginning of August. And I'm sitting here and I'm going, okay, I'm a coach, I'm a teacher, I'm a consultant. They're doing this now. We've got 3 to 6 month cycle between, how this technology doubles. So I'm saying, okay, are there going to be avatars available at the end of the year? What do you think? Maybe, maybe not. But if they are, what are they going to be trained on? You need your content to be able to have that available either if and when it comes. And even if there's not an avatar available, you can run your community based on your content. You can run your courses or automated courses or Q&As or any of the work where you're sharing your information based on your database that is stored. But if I've got an avatar and I have an avatar that is trained on my material, what stops me from licensing my avatar? What stops me from saying to someone, hey, you have a business, I'm an expert in this, here's my avatar, have anyone that's in your business, or you want to buy a whole bunch of avatars, you can buy your own coaching staff, right? Just think about it. You have all of the best people from different parts of your life, whether it be business or personal or financial or health or wellness. You want your own set of coaches that you can ask questions to. Now you've got a live interactive AI tool that you personally can have your conversation with. It has nothing to do with a course, not a single thing to do with a course, but access to a personal tutor. Someone is there that knows exactly what it is that you are going through and how it can best help you. And if you're unsure of that, the other one to check, and again, I did this one before. Here's the other one that, again, really, really cool. If you haven't already, I'm going to open this one up. We'll go to, actually, let's go to ChatGPT. I'll open up ChatGPT here for a second. And again, I'm on the plus version, I think it is, which is the basic $20 a month one. And if you are serious about learning something, again, the video I did yesterday or the day before, it's in the channel there, but in tools, there's study and learn. And ChatGPT 5, from all the reports that I've read, and I'm hoping it comes up this week at the end of the week or next week, but that has a persistent memory for you. So when I was talking about avatars, each time you talk to the avatar, it is going to know where it left off with you. It's not like you're starting fresh. An example of this is if you go and you try study mode. And I'll open this one up. Someone give me a question about something they want to learn. Just put it in the chat there and I'll actually go over, we'll do one live. So yeah, so just give me a question, say, I want to learn something, or I want to learn about this, and I'll just show you how this works. So we've got something that remembers where I started off next time I come back to it. We have something that's personal based on my discussions with it. And we've got a multimodal verbal avatar that we can actually interact with when we need to 24/7. So a personal tutor, a personal coach, those are all there. And I'm betting it's going to be by the end of the year. And if it's really important to you to share your content and your expertise, I think the biggest thing that we can start doing right now is capturing everything that we do. All of that digital exhaust, whether it's a Zoom call or a blog post or a YouTube video or the research that we do. PDFs, deep research that you run in all the AI tools, save it. Save as much as you can and get it into a place, your community, put as much as you can in, and then find out a way to make sure that it's getting indexed. And there's lots of cool tools for doing that. The other one that a lot of people use is called Notion. And I'll share why Notion is so important. Again, I just get rambling on things. So if you have questions, put them in. And there, we'll just do Notion. So Notion is, there's a whole bunch of people that love Notion. I don't personally use it, but this one is kind of cool. And I'll open up, I do have an account, a free account to use. Now, this is the cool thing is that some people put all of their information into Notion. And you can create Notion with templates. So you can have a CRM. You can have a course Notion page and make it public. You can have a knowledge base. You can create all sorts of really cool templates. Now, the reason that capturing it in something like Notion or in something like WordPress is when you're actually using ChatGPT tools, or in my case, we'll open up a Claude product here. And we'll just do, sorry, I didn't have my screen onto Notion so you can actually see it again. So this is Notion. I logged into a free account, but again, you can put templates in. I did one, kind of a user education. I was just playing around with it. But this is all content, right? So if you're capturing this content and you have templates for CRM or course research or uh, video scripts, any kind of content that you're capturing in here, one of the things that you can do is there is something called connectors with Claude. And this uses something called MCP, which is Model Context Protocol. And basically, it's like you got an AI tool, but now what you can do is you can connect it to a whole bunch of tools. One of the tools that you can do here, you can see some of the web search ones that are there. But if you go to add connections, they've got Asana. These are all project management tools, Gmail, Calendar, HubSpot, Intercom, Monday, Notion. So this means that you can be using AI and you can say, hey, connect to my Notion data set. And anytime you make a prompt or do want to do work in Claude, it can pull data directly from your Notion database. So collect your content, collect your content. And there's other ways to monetize it. And these ones, you can actually sell your connectors. If I'm not mistaken on Claude, they have a directory of where you can actually go and put them. Where is that one? I think it's browse connectors. They have one for desktop extensions. Yeah. So people are creating these. ClickUp is another one. Any place where you have a MCP connector and it's an open standard now that people are doing things, you can now actually start playing around with that. One example here, and this is the one I have set up, is file system. So what that means is my Claude on the desktop, I can ask it to read folders on my computer in my Google Drive. It has access to all of that content, not just the stuff that it was trained on. So collect your content as fast as you can. And I think personally, the fastest way to create content is to talk and do videos if you can. Okay. So sorry I get a little freaked out on this stuff because it's happening so quickly. It's hard to keep up, but I'm super excited about what this means if you want to share expertise and actually work with real people again and not necessarily have to focus on creating content and delivering content. I think the content is free. The value of content is gone, but it's our ability to simplify, orchestrate, curate any of the content into frameworks or recipes and then help people implement or apply those frameworks and let them create the content. I've been saying to some of the people in higher education I've been talking to, give everyone AI, give everyone the prompts to figure out that stuff, but work with them on applying the recipes or the frameworks that you teach and give them learning experiences while they go through that. And whether it's in real life with someone in a classroom or it's in an avatar, doesn't really matter. The fact is that I think that's where the value is. And that's the exciting part for people that are going through that. So let me go and let's go back to the chats here for a second. Okay. What do we got here? Member only. Thank you very much, Mary. So Kelly, value blogs versus YouTube. I have my course materials, but there are many applicable situations to address. So I just want to talk about this. And sometimes I come across as anti-course, and I kind of am, but the word course I think has to change. When I first started, a course was about content. I think that there is a move to using, traditionally, I think it was called a flipped classroom or a form of hybrid learning. But I think if you are going to create a course, the best way to do it now that you'll be able to charge for it, if you're coming from the marketing side of it, is to basically sell the experience and the outcome in some kind of live teaching slash coaching thing where you're not delivering the content, but you're delivering the framework or the application of it, how to do it. And you use the traditional content to supplement the live piece. So if you want to learn more about it, or if you need more questions, obviously you can ask in the community. But here's the supplemental content that is static that helps you when you're actually going and apply this. So I think that's an interesting space for courses. If you're just creating content courses and you're trying to sell them, I've seen very few people be successful in the last 2 years, 3 years really, about selling a course, a traditional content course. The exception to that rule, again, this is for selling courses. The exception to that rule is if someone already has a very, very large data set of people that have interacted with them. They're already in their community, or they're a fan, or someone that's familiar with them and is basically sold on them already. They've earned that trust and rapport with someone. There's people that do well with that model because they're basically carrying on in a process they've already started. And then on the other hand, there are some people that do well selling courses, but it may cost them as much as it costs to get them to purchase a course. So the actual revenue that they get is not really displayed or equal to the amount of time, energy, effort, and money they got to get people into the course. And then the big problem, of course, with these static courses and the stats that I've done research on, like Udemy has a 15% completion rate on static courses. And that's from some of the top selling authors on Udemy. So, unless you're forcing people to take courses, you got a situation where there's great content, absolutely wonderful content, but no one's going to finish it. And even if they do, no one's going to apply it. And there's no guarantee that they're getting the outcome that you promised them by taking the courses. So, if you're looking at courses, I would suggest, again, totally up to you, is to just think a little bit differently about what it is that the course is really about. Is it about an outcome? And how do people actually get that outcome? What are the things that they have to do to get the outcome, and the experiences they have to be able to get that outcome, and not necessarily about creating some static content, which ChatGPT helps out really well with, right? If you think about it, I've had a challenge for people. I say, look, if you have a course, I can create the same course in an hour if it's a content course. You get good at prompting, you understand what it's about, what the content is about, what you want put in, study sheets, quizzes, contents, lessons, syllabus, all of that stuff is easy to do with a prompt now. But giving the actual experience of going through it with someone, that is where you can make the money. And that in the past was the stuff that people were trying to get away from. So this is going to be really cool because we're going to have all sorts of people who were not necessarily teachers and or good teachers. They're going to have trouble if they're not don't want to talk to people, if they don't want to share their experiences, if they don't want to be open about what they know and they don't know, and investigate stuff with people. That's going to be the fun part. Like, if you like doing that, charge for doing that. People will pay because they don't have time, energy, and effort to figure everything out by themselves. They just want to find someone that they like, that they know, that they trust, that they think they can learn from, and they'll get on board with them and hopefully get into your community, that privately branded community where they can start to be involved and kind of work up that funnel, for example. So let me go back to this for a second, and let me clear this. We'll go back to my. So here's the thing. The way that I look at it here is I look at YouTube as the audience, and I want people in the community. I want to try and get them engaged. And then I want them to be partners with me. That's the goal, is if I can have a community of partners, people who have a passion for what it is that I'm doing, and they do, that we can actually go and work together on things, that is absolutely great. And if you can get people in these spaces and charge to have time interacting with you and sharing their experiences, that's where we can earn some money. So I give away the free community. And the only reason I do it is, think of a TV station. It's like, I want to have the biggest audience tuning in as often as I can. And then I want them all to come into the community to get some clarity and detail on all of the noise that's on YouTube. And there's something interesting that happening this morning, actually. And if you do follow vidIQ as an example of one of the tools that I use when I'm doing these videos. vidIQ is pretty good. If you haven't already, I'll put a link below in the description on vidIQ. It's a tool that, if I go and I look at my channel here, and I'll just go up at the top. Let me just see at the top here if we can get it. So here's just a little thing for vidIQ at the top, and it basically gives channel stats, right? And a couple of other things that are there. But the one that's kind of interesting is that I follow them, and they were playing a video today. And one of the things that's happening with YouTube right now is people focus on subscribers, but what's happening, according to vidIQ and this work that they do with YouTube, is what they're starting to track is where the audience is coming from. Is it new people coming to your YouTube videos? Is it the existing people revisiting? Or, and I think they had one other one. But the thing is here is they're putting more value on people coming back to the videos each time. So the more that you can get people engaged in your YouTube videos by watching and watching and watching, I think there's the part that you get them into the community, right? You do YouTube videos, keep them related, keep them all tied to each other, get them into the community, and then create value for those videos in the community, value add stuff that they won't get actually by going to the site. So in my particular case, I'll open this one up here. So we actually go and see it. But the way that I do it is I take the YouTube video, I take the transcript of the video, and then, as an example, I have the video from YouTube that's here, but I also have generated a whole bunch of additional value that is taken from the tutorial and created. And I keep all of these particular pieces here. And these ones are open, so I get the SEO from it. If you're worried about, SEO, I have all the valuable keyword specific content that is available here. Came from the YouTube transcript, it's in the site, and I actually have it set up so that anytime that I post something new on my website, it automatically gets posted as a social media post to Facebook, LinkedIn, X/Twitter, and what was the other one? There's a couple other ones that basically it grows out. So, I don't actively market that stuff, but it gets done, and it's just from the start of a YouTube video, and it's getting people into that audience right at the bottom and focusing on that, and that's where YouTube is. So I just want to make sure that kind of that's what's working really well for me. It's working for other people that I've been working with. The biggest problem with this, and this is one that everyone deals with, is that people are often afraid to get on front of the camera and actually talk live to the camera. And I think this is a skill that's learned, so you got to practice it, start doing it, make some horrific mistakes, and get over it and have some fun doing it, just being a real person. So do as many videos as you can, even if they're bad, to get started. If they're really bad, just unpublish them and learn from what you did right and you did wrong. The other thing that a lot of people in the video, if you do a search on YouTube for Ecamm, and again, this is the software that I use. It's called Ecamm. I'm on a Mac. Let me do Ecamm here if I can come up with it. Sorry, spelt it wrong. So Ecamm is a piece of broadcasting software that actually is what people basically use. I use it to record videos, and I also do it this live stream. So one of the things that's interesting from here is all of the stuff that they're, not all of the stuff, a lot of the stuff they're talking about now is live video. And I think this is the other thing that is going to get more popular, especially with people in the education space, is that if you can get comfortable and or have enough proficiency to be able to go live, but to have zero editing. And what I mean by that is if I do a video like this one today or like the one I did yesterday, these are one-time videos that have no editing whatsoever. There's no tip and tail. There's no fancy zooms or anything like that, or B-roll or those pieces. It's just me switching between some scenes and that is it. Live editing on the go. There's all sorts of mistakes I make during the thing. I stumble on my words. Sometimes I say stuff that maybe isn't best explained that particular way, and that's okay. So like, don't worry about it. Do as much as you can. This kind of content is coming. It's becoming more and more popular. And I think it's going to be even more popular in the educational space about not having something fancy and overproduced. Because if you do it that way, you're doing one video a week and you're doing something on Monday, publishing it on Friday, and trying to figure out waiting for stuff to get back from an editor and then repurposing after. But if you can do a video a day or a video every second day, do it live and have it automatically posted, the transcription created, blog post and social media posts automatically. I think that's kind of a cool thing that's happening there. So blogs, tutorials, whatever you want to call them, get the content up. So there had some other questions. Or sorry, I get carried away on that. Hopefully that was helpful or you enjoyed that. The other question I had here, metacognitive bot to assist user with self-reflection. Okay. Yeah, okay. So here we go. I'm going to open some of these up here. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Is it Sentinent? Sentinent. Okay. Meditative cognitive bots assist the user for self-reflection. Maybe a little perception. Project team can assess whether the assumptions made for decisions are clear so that we can assess whether they still apply. Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that study mode did that was kind of cool is it did give some self-reflection questions for people to kind of figure out, like, did I really understand it? Can I explain it back? Um, Again, I'm not a formally trained educator, so I'm coming from it from the other end, but I try and research as much as I can doing that kind of stuff. One of the things that I started off doing that I found very, very helpful when doing these live videos is I ran into this thing called the Feynman technique. And again, I'll try and find the video for it. But basically, my understanding of the story was that he was someone who was doing his doctorate in physics, and he was trying to figure out how to study for exams, kind of thing. And what everyone else was doing like flashcards and doing all the traditional ways of studying. And what he kind of figured out is he said, if I can't explain the topics or the areas that are being covered, if I can't explain it so that someone else understands it, then I don't know it well enough. So, the idea of having that bot in study mode come back and ask you to see if you can explain it to them, yeah, that's obviously, there's some value in that. I think the question that's being brought up is there's a teacher there right now. So it's one thing to be able to explain it and make sure that, a bot or whatever knows that you can explain it. But if you apply it and you apply it in the wrong way or at the wrong time or with the wrong tools, what, what is it that's actually being learned if there's no one to guide or mentor you through that particular process? So, I think that's kind of a really cool place for the people to go and actually work through there. Let me just see what else is there. Yeah, there we go. Hey, Mark, welcome on again. Multi-system prompts, supervisor network debate mesh, all really, really cool things that I am not up on. So I would love for you to get into the community, start talking about things so we can actually learn about them. And that's actually something that I did this morning, just to show you an example of where, let me pull this up actually. This is something when I was, preparing for this today, kind of thinking my thoughts through and putting this all together. I think it was in Claude actually. I'll do this one up in Claude so that we can see it. Yeah, I was trying to put some frameworks here, and I had some examples, and what it was all about how teachers or formally educated teachers, some of the things that, or the way that they look at things, and then I said, let me just pull it down here, see if I can get it. But there are a whole bunch of terms that get used by formally educated teachers, things like The ones that were just mentioned, or scaffolding, or rubrics, and all of these, more technical things. Again, I'm not trained on those, but I'm trying to learn them as fast as I can and apply them to the AI tools from both sides of the coin. In those, I think those traditional things, it's going to be fun for people who formally teach to spend more time doing the stuff they were taught to do to teach, as opposed to some of the handiwork and those other pieces that are kind of hand-offable now to some of the AI tools. And being able to have them in a bot, I don't think you can do that yet, and it's going to be a while for being able to do that. So those learning experiences and the application of stuff, yeah, I think that's kind of cool. And it's what we're going to have: cognitive guidance, metacognitive. I don't I don't understand those ones to the extent that I should. Those are the ones that I'm learning. So yeah, so I would love to be able to do that. And if you haven't used the Socratic, the study mode on ChatGPT, go and try it. It's pretty cool. They have Study With Me on Anthropic that does the same thing. And some people I've even seen, and again, I did a video on this one of just prompting um, ChatGPT regularly to use Socratic teaching methods and to not answer anything for you, but to continue to ask questions to clarify what it is that you know and what you don't know and what you need to know, and being able to guide you through the questions and answers to get there. So how long we've been going here? Uh, Questions? Anyone got any more questions? An hour and 6 minutes already. This stuff is super cool. It's happening fast, and there's all sorts of stuff happening this week. Let me know if there's a question. If there isn't, what I'll do is I'll go through a couple of the sites / things that you should know about if you're into this starting, building, growing education based business, and we'll go from there. Yeah, any questions? Give me another question. Has this been of any value? Give me a thumbs up. Is this the kind of stuff you like asking about or learning about? Is there other things that you want covered? Again, if you haven't already, please go to trainingsites.io/join. Join the community, bring this stuff up, ask if other people are doing it, share some wins that you've had, announcements, exciting stuff that's happened, new tools that you've either found or not found. I would love for you to go out and actually share all those with everyone in the community. And I'll show you briefly where those are. And then I'll go through a couple sites that you should know about, because ones that I'm just kind of finding out here. Yeah. So in the general discussion here, this is anything. If you want to discuss something, put it into the general discussion. Again, this is free to get involved in it. We've got tools and resources. If you find a neat tool, if you find a service or something that's of value, share it. Put it in here. Put it in here. Let other people know about it. Of course, I don't want affiliate links and people pitching stuff. This is for you to actually share stuff that you've been doing. Events and announcements. If you are doing a webinar, if you have launched a course, and it is available for sale, share it with people. Share it with people, and even wins and celebrations. If you get a course finished, you're happy about it, you did a successful webinar, you've got some new YouTube videos with some traction or something, put it in here, share it. All of this stuff, I'm hoping that people won't lurk. And again, I'm starting to work really hard on applying the AI tools and the recipes that I created to get more people involved in here. But I would love all of those things for happen and everyone else to get in there and actually share that kind of stuff. So what do we got here? Um, uh, I want to talk about multi-agents just for one thing, 1 minute, because this is one of those sites. I don't know if you're familiar, but if you go to, I'm going to go to Gemini, just an example. And Gemini has one which is called Deep Research. And the way that these tools work, these research tools, is basically Perplexity. Everyone has a Deep Research one. What happens is they basically have an agent that goes out and does a search on a whole bunch of content that relates to the query that was made. It analyzes it, and then it comes back with some kind of research document or whatever you've asked for, and it comes back with that document. The one that Google announced yesterday or the day before, I think, it has on that one, which is cool. All of the other deep research tools has one agent doing it. what happens now is this one, and it came from DeepMind, which is kind of the experimental part of Google. The one that this thing does, and again, I haven't tested it, I've just been watching about it, reading about it. What it does is it puts out multiple agents. It's multi-agent, and each agent does research, and then what it does is it brings it together. So this one is incredibly deep, incredibly detailed, and that's one that people I think get so many particular usages during a session. Kind of cool. And it's funny that I'm looking right here now because this is the second time I've logged in today, and I want you to take a look at the screen closely and look what's at the bottom of the tools. Guided learning. So we have study with me on Anthropic. I just did that thing now on study mode in ChatGPT, and I come into Gemini 2.5 Pro. I didn't see this here yesterday. We've got guided learning. So as soon as I finish this live stream today or tonight, when I get back in the office, you can bet what I'm going to be doing a video on. Because I have a feeling this is exactly the same thing as study mode. This is super, super cool. And again, okay, so I got to get these couple ones off my head, but I'll look at that question first and then we'll go on it because I just got kind of going on this. So, uh, uh, so the question here is one of the ones we got here. So Patrick's got a question, and the question is not so much a question, but I find AI such as Perplexity is great for digging out opposite stories which clarify and connect with people. Yeah, I think you're right on that. And I think Perplexity does a really, really good job of referencing other documents for everything that you do with it, as opposed to having to do a deep research one. So I think it has a much broader cross section of content to work from, and it's always based not was on what was this trained on, but it's based on the time that you've actually done the prompt. So I think there's a lot more real life in the Perplexity ones. The one video that I haven't done that is on my list of videos, and again, I'll show that to you just so that you kind of see part of the process here for me personally. I'll open this one up. Is I use Fluent Boards, which is part of the community package that we have. If you want a campus that looks like this one, but on mine, I have an entire list of YouTube videos, titles that I want to do for YouTube videos. And right now, I think there's 174 on the board that are there in different stages. I have it filtered right now, but some have titles and outlines, some are just in research, but there's 174 different ones there in my project management tool that's on the site here. Now, the reason I mention that is the other one on Perplexity is, and again, this is one I really want to do a video on, but I haven't done yet. It's on my list for this week, is Perplexity Labs. So if you haven't already, make sure to go to Perplexity Labs. And this one is it's basically like a project or a space about a particular area. And I think these ones, this one is kind of cool. So I'm going to go take a look at this one and we'll do some work on it as an example. But it's actually like a interactive space that you can work with Perplexity in it. And it has the labs, the research, the apps that you can actually create based on the research that you're doing, all of the steps that are put through that it took, all of the sources. It's basically a playground for doing all of these things. So that one's kind of a cool thing. And again, this is all real time, real life content that they're working from. So that one is kind of exciting. So Perplexity Labs is one of them. I do like Perplexity as well. And again, that's the video that I have to do up on that one. Where's the other one here? Let me do the clarify. Great, recommended. Okay, here's a couple other ones just to keep in the back of your mind for today or tomorrow until stuff changes again. I do have one question. I've been speaking to a lot of higher education institutions who are trying to figure out where all of this plays. one of the questions that I continually got asked was, I'm doing a research paper, I'm doing research for whatever. How do I make sure that the content that I'm actually, or the work that I'm doing with the AI tools doesn't get stolen? One of the things that came out yesterday, and this is going to be interesting as well, if you do a search on ChatGPT and you just do they have this one right here, which is GPT OSS, and this is an open source model. So what this means is this is like having ChatGPT on, in this case, I say you can get away with it. The smaller models on a notebook, I'm not so sure about that, but they have an open source model of ChatGPT. So if you need to have privacy and or you want to add your own content and you're doing the research, this is one that you can run in your office, run in a high-end notebook. They give an example of it. I don't know about that, but you get to a point where you have your own private ChatGPT that doesn't go out to the internet. So this is something that kind of happened yesterday or today, I think it was, but you can download this and install it and start using it. And they have two models. One's 20 billion tokens and the other one is 120 billion tokens. Those are those things I was talking about at the start. August 5th, so it was yesterday, sorry, that this was announced. So that's kind of cool. Other thing, just want to talk on these ones as well, is, again, this is another one that's coming out, is there's one called Opal from Google, and this is like, they call it a mini app builder, but I think it's a mini agent builder. And what I mean by that is it is a way to basically do what we're doing with a text prompt, put it in, and it's going to create a multi-step agent connecting all of these tools, services, prompts together and having a specific outcome. Now, it's not available for me where I am because I'm in Canada. It's only available in the States right now. We'll double check, see what it says. Oh, Opal isn't available in the country yet. So we'll have to try and get around that later today, but that's another one that's kind of cool that's coming out. And again, it's just one of these things where you're creating course content, you're doing research, you're doing these things, providing experiences to people. You want people to go through a particular set of steps. You want them to watch it happen. You want them to create the steps. You give them the job and say, hey, create an Opal for yourself that does this or applies this or uses this framework. And if you've tested it out, you know which ones work and which ones don't work. There's an opportunity to share that experience and be able to teach it to people. So, what do we got for more questions here? Any more questions before I get going? Um, if anyone did want to go, how long have I been going? Hour and 20 minutes. Get carried away with this. If someone has a question, I will do one thing just beforehand, before I leave. If you want to see how study mode goes, let me know. Give me an example of a topic that you want to learn about, and you'll just see how this works. Because it's absolutely flipped. We could try with Gemini too, but it's absolutely flipped to what normally happens with ChatGPT. And again, that's the other thing that's happening. I'll wait and see if anyone comes up with a question there that they want to take a look at, a particular topic. But here's the cool thing that's happening. We had ChatGPT for prompt and response. We had kind of agents that were happening, and people are talking about agents and automations. And the other part that's happening now is these agents, automations, and applications. I believe they're turning into avatars and one-on-one relationships and putting us as the teacher or the course creator or the educator, we're in the spot now where we have to figure out how do we create these learning experiences, not the content in them. And if you can organize learning experiences or ways to learn using AI, that's the part that's going to be really, really cool. So we're like conductors now, right? It's not us creating content. It's like, what do people need to know? When do they need to know it? And what AI tool can I use to give that particular experience? The other thing I will say, again, this is just me ranting because there's no questions that come up here. The other thing that's happening that's really cool is they're going to be, you'll start hearing in the rest of the year, you'll start hearing about ambient agents. I watched a thing on HubSpot, I think it was yesterday, where the guy who's in charge of AI at HubSpot was talking about ambient uh, agents. And ambient agents are not like us as an agent in that tool for Opal saying, run this task and have the agents do all the tasks. An ambient agent is one that just lurks in the background and that we have it set up so that if an event happens on our calendar, in a doc, in a license, on a community, happens anywhere, that that agent will complete a bunch of tasks. So for example, let's say you have an appointment that shows up in your calendar. You have an agent that knows that you have an appointment, so it goes to research all of the LinkedIn data for it. It looks in your database at your CRM. It goes to check its marks at the college. It goes to see if it's handed assignments in, and it gives you back a report before the meeting that is actually added to your calendar. So those lurking ambient agents, there's going to be a facility, I'm betting on it, in the next 6 to 12 months where these kind of things are going to be available again. And if you're thinking about, I can't think about creating content anymore as a course. Like, what the heck is a course now? I don't know. I just don't have a good answer on what a course is, but I do know that with all of these tools for us to do and use, and the people who were supposed to be teaching having the same tools, something's got to give and something's got to change. What that is, I don't know for sure yet, and that's a part that's going to be so cool doing this. So I'm going to bring things in for landing. Again, if you haven't already, please go to trainingsites.io/join, get in the community, let's know what's going on, share your stuff, love to learn from you, and basically make the best of all of this AI stuff if we're going to be starting, building, and growing an education business. So my name is James, trainingsites.io. Hope you enjoyed this. We'll be back again next Wednesday. And if you haven't already in the community, what is in the community is we do have, this is my shared kind of spot where I try and do stuff that we actually make some money on, is we do weekly live working sessions for the VIP members here. So we actually have live classes, not on YouTube, but these are like Zoom classes where we work using prompts. We talk about the stuff that you're doing and actually work live on them. And we do one each week. So that's in the VIB program. If you want to get involved in that, it'll open up and I'll do a new window so that you see it. It is a campus pass, and that's what happens when you try and get into it. You're going to have that campus pass. Right now, just starting it, it's $97 a month. You can stop whenever you want. And just to cause another issue, just because I'm on this page, you should go and look at it anyway, because this page was created completely by Claude. All I did, as I said, I want a sales page with these two price points that I can, an HTML page. I gave it my brand colors and my brand fonts, and this is the page that it created. I did nothing of this. I didn't write any of the copy. I didn't do the layout. I did nothing. The only thing that I did is I put the right buy now links here. That's all that I did. So it created the page. So if you're thinking about, more than creating content, you're creating sales pages, any kind of material, you can actually create them as an HTML page as well, which is another whole story. Maybe time for another live stream. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, back next week. Had a blast, and we'll see you again in the community. Take care. Expect the best.